Morning 5B, and today we are going to look at parts of a flower and insect and wind pollination. I'll start off with the parts of a flower and their roles very briefly in encouraging pollination through insects.
So here we have a really good example of a flower, and we can clearly see all of the separate parts. Here are the petals, nice bright and white, to attract insects to the flower so that it can be pollinated. That's why flowers are bright and interesting colours, for the sole purpose of attracting insects. When we look inside, we can see here the filament. Okay, filament is the long stalk, and at the top is the anther, and you can see that I've got a bit of pollen on my finger off the plant, and that pollen will collect on a bee or a fly or another insect, which will then land on the flower, possibly on this part, stigma, which is slightly sticky to attract the pollen, and that will allow the pollen to travel down the style into the ovary, where it can eventually cause a new seed to form and another plant to grow. So there you have it, the parts of a flower. So here we have insect pollination taking place. You can see all of the bees coming in, landing on the flowers, transferring the pollen onto the female part of the plant. Now this bee will fly from flower to flower, gathering pollen on its legs and body, and then land on other flowers, transferring that pollen onto the female part of the new flower and causing the flowers to reproduce. Now the other sort of pollination that you find is the wind pollination. Now this is common from trees and from various grasses. So in my garden there is an awful lot of pollen around at the moment. Let me show you. So here's my table, and if I touch the table, let's say there, you can see that line, okay? All of that yellow powder is pollen off the trees and off the plants, and you can see it here. And so on my finger, oh, where is it? There it is. Look, that is all pollen. So wind pollination is really useful for the trees and the grasses that don't have the brightly coloured petals to attract insects. They can pollinate other plants by blowing pollen in the wind.